Last month was Endometriosis Awareness Month, and although we are around 11 days late, it's still a great reminder to raise the profile of a disease that affects an estimated 200 million worldwide.
Wow, that's amazing. Endometriosis is a debilitating disease which affects more than 120,000 in New Zealand. Chronic symptoms is life-changing for sufferers and for their families, which can take an average of 8 years to receive a diagnosis and resulting in a third of women experiencing fertility problems.
So that makes it roughly 1 in 10 women in New Zealand who have endometriosis. So it's very likely that you know someone who is suffering from the disease. Maybe it's you, and you're at home grappling with this problem right now. Well, to share more about the disease, we have Endometriosis New Zealand here, who work with those who treat the condition and researchers who are finding solutions. Tanya Cooke, welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Tanya. Hey, for those that don't know what endometriosis is, could you just give us a bit of a rundown? What is it?
Yes, so endometriosis is a chronic inflammatory disease where tissue similar to the lining of the uterus is found in other areas, usually in the pelvic region, and that could be in the bowel, the ovaries, or sometimes extending out in some occasions right out to the lungs, but that's not as common. The symptoms, as you touched on, are can be really, they vary, but they can be really horrific. So they do. The different symptoms are things like pain with periods, pain during and after sex, fatigue, fertility issues in some, bowel problems. They can really vary from person to person. So not one symptom with each person, it completely varies depending on the individual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just any one type of person either, right? Can you tell us who's likely to possibly experience endometriosis?
Yeah, so it generally affects people in their reproductive years, but it can start as early as the first menstrual period, right on to later on in life. And we do hear of cases of women, you know, after their menopause, through their menopause, experiencing endometriosis. So, as you said, it is 120,000 women, female, and those assigned female at birth in New Zealand. And what we don't know the actual cause at this stage, so but it is very likely if you have a mum or a sister that there is a link genetically that you're more likely to have endo.
So can you tell us more about how it is diagnosed?
Yeah. So basically, a doctor or GP may suspect that you have endometriosis from some of those symptoms that we talked about, may do an examination or blood tests, but from there they will need to refer you to a gynecologist, where we would like to think that it's a gynecologist that has experience with diagnosing endometriosis and treating it, and they will need to perform a keyhole surgery, which basically goes into the pelvic cavity, and from there, that's how you need to be diagnosed. Unfortunately, internationally, there is an 8-year diagnostic delay, which that has been supported just recently by a New Zealand study. The first study actually that has taken place in New Zealand was quite a large study. There was 800 people were surveyed, and what we found with that study in New Zealand, that basically it was 8.7 years was the average time for diagnosis, and on average 5 doctors were seen before a diagnosis was received.
So why so long? What's the cause of the delay?
So we put it down to a number of factors, but it really is just lack of education and awareness, especially here in New Zealand. It is a public health issue. We expect the government to do more. We'd like to see a New Zealand endometriosis action plan, which would focus on basically overall awareness, education, and improving the diagnosis and management of the disease.
So apart from surgery, how else can a woman manage the symptoms of endometriosis?
Yeah, well, it definitely needs to be a multidisciplinary, holistic approach. So there are many other things other than the surgery and medication that you can be doing. That can be things like managing your diet, doing some physio, and there's more information about that on our website, www.nzendo.org.nz. We encourage people, if they or finding it difficult to manage the disease, to go onto our website, because there's pages of information there, and we can find a bit more about that holistic approach. But we definitely don't think it's just one answer is the cure, the solution for everybody.
And of course, Endometriosis New Zealand works to help improve health outcomes and for walking alongside women who are dealing with the symptoms of endometriosis as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about specifically the work you do?
Sure, yeah. So we have kind of 4 pillars, areas of work that we focus on. The first one would be education. So we go out into the community and educate people around recognising the symptoms and
do TV interviews, for example.
Yes, there we go. Support, which is a big one. Our Endo Help services are online. We have a private social media group. We have a phone clinic where people can call up and receive a 30-minute free advice session just about how to navigate their way through this complicated system that we have here. We advocate, so we advocate to government for some of those changes, like a new action plan that we briefly spoke about, and research, which we partnered with the recent study that we were just talking about, but we have some really exciting changes in that space that we're really looking forward to sharing in the next few months. But one of our strategic priorities is to be more focused on research, because we believe that that will provide a lot of the answers that we don't currently have. Unfortunately, we don't receive any money from the government, so we are completely reliant on our generous community here in New Zealand to continue our important work. So we're always looking for new supporters or businesses or anyone in the community that wants to help us out. But that's all on our website too.
Wow, you guys do an amazing work. Thank you so much for coming in and educating us on what endometriosis is. That's awesome. If you would like to visit Endometriosis New Zealand to either donate or to support, you can head to their website. It's nzendo.org.nz.